so much for being here for our annual Pro Bono Luncheon. Sincerely appreciate all of you being here, your support. My name is John Maley. Mom is here with me. I grew up 2800 East Main. I'm still a Richmonder at heart. Happen to live in Indy and practice in Indy, but it's really my honor and privilege and pleasure to be part of this organization that's doing so much good here in this community. Particular thank yous. First, Mr. Mayor, thank you for joining us and being with us and for supporting organizations running in our race every year and some other events that we have. Appreciate all that you're doing in the community and supporting organizations like this that really are grassroots organizations serving people in need. Many of our judges are here with us. Judges, if you could at least raise your hands. Thank you for your public service and what you do. You're the front line, and what we're doing is helping those without counsel and matching counsel, helping through our office. Of course, you're doing every day with thousands in need. Our board of directors is a fantastic, diverse group that really is the glue to the organization, that does the heavy lifting, plans the events, supports them, reaches out to many of you to support and attend our events. If all board members could please stand so we can thank all of you for what you're doing. And lastly, I want to thank everyone who supports the organization financially. This is one of those organizations where there's no overhead. I think we paid the city $1 for the space that we're in. Thank you, City of Richmond, for that. We have a little bit of expense otherwise, of course, with some administrative and office expenses. But our main budget item otherwise are our staff. Shane Eddington is our executive director and lawyer who's practicing law regularly, advising, assisting, and Monica, our legal assistant paralegal. So every dollar that comes into the organization is helping provide services, and we could not do that and serve the hundreds and hundreds that we do without support. So any gift helps. I want to particularly thank the sponsors. You'll see them in your program, and when you come up for dessert, you can't miss the sponsor board. Be sure to get dessert. Thank you to all the sponsors that really make the organization work and allow us to do the work that we do. Every year as we gather in December to sort of celebrate what the Whitewater Valley Pro Bono Commission is doing and the good work, we would like to reflect on what happened during the year, the good works of the volunteer attorneys, the bar that steps up and supports, and also thank our supporters. We're really privileged this year to have with us Chuck Dunlap from the Indiana Bar Foundation. He's the executive director of the Indiana Bar Foundation, who's come to join us from Indianapolis to talk about a little bit about pro bono and what's going on statewide. The challenges that we face in this community are not unique, as Chuck is painfully aware, as he's doing good work with the Bar Foundation and the many, many other organizations that he's involved in that support and embrace pro bono and serving those in need who are not having their legal needs served. Chuck is a friend to Bench and Bar. He's really an extraordinarily public servant. And Chuck, we're honored that you were able to join us today, and thank you for sharing some remarks with us.
Thanks, John. And it's like the whole community is here, which is great. I'm originally from Pittsburgh, so don't hold that against me. But I went to IU, and my next door neighbor in the dorm, I think I knew one person when I came to Bloomington. And my next door neighbor was a nice guy. I didn't really know anybody else. We kind of we hung out, and I ended up going back to his high school for high school reunion. You may be familiar with Liberty, Indiana, down the road. So my first real taste of Indiana was Liberty, Union County. At the time, I believe, hopefully it was one he said the biggest claim to fame was they had a light-up bra in the downtown that you could drive through. So I don't know if that was part of the light festivity, but anyway, I remember my first impression of Indiana being Liberty, Indiana, just down the street. So Obviously, I know Indiana a lot better now than I do then, but I'm really happy to be here in this community. Just a couple words, and really just thank you for your service, because this is. I think I'm the only one in this room that doesn't know everybody already, and that's to be expected with the tight-knit community that you have, and the way you help each other. The people in your community that need your services, need your help the most, you're there for them. And that's what it's really all about, especially this time of year, this time of season. I think to appreciate what you have done for your fellow citizens in this area and help them get to do things that they're unable to do for themselves, because practicing law is obviously a skill, and it's something that we're fortunate to do. And we have an obligation to help others who can't help themselves with some of their legal needs. And again, you see it every day. You know what the needs are, and it's what I think the profession is all about in the community. So thank you. I also just wanted to say how, on behalf of the Indiana Bar Foundation, Amy Dudas, who I think might be the one attorney in Richmond not here right now, but she's the president-elect of the Bar Foundation. So she's very good at representing the interests of her local community here. And we're proud to be a financial supporter of the White River Pro Bono as well, and White Water Valley, excuse me. White River down the road a little bit. I get my white rivers and valleys confused. So thank you, and we're happy to be a supporter, and will continue to be, because this is an important area of the state that is doing really good work. And as John said, it's a pretty good bang for your buck, frankly, from a financial standpoint. The level that what you put back into this through your own service, it's a no-brainer. So we're happy to contribute and continue to contribute. One thing I will say, and I think it was yesterday, one of the funding sources that we have, IOLTA program, Interest on Lawyers Trust Account. I'm sure many of you are familiar with that. Sadly, because of the interest rate environment that we've had, although if you're selling real estate, it's probably been a good thing. But on the other side of the deposit side of the equation, it's not particularly helpful from a revenue standpoint. So from that standpoint, we've been challenged with our funding source. I think it was yesterday the Fed raised its quarter point from the Fed fund rate, so hopefully that starts to trickle down to our deposits, which then in turn leads to more grants that we can give out to pro bono districts and pro bono folks and people doing the work that you're doing. So again, I think you all are familiar with just the challenges that has brought. We had $3 million a year in net revenue maybe a decade ago. Right now it's about $300,000 a year. So we've had to be a little more creative with some of the fundraising, some of the support that we've been able to generate. We've had some success with the legislature, and I know some folks in your community. Thank you for your support too. We met each other at the legislature lobbying to continue the pro bono filing fee to help support the work that you all do, which the legislature, I think, I don't know that there was a vote against it in both the House and the Senate, which is a testament again to the important need for this service. So on the funding side, we'll continue to be there, continue to work towards that. A couple things I just wanted to give you a little bit of an update about. The Supreme Court, we work with quite a bit, and members of the judiciary here, I know you see in your courts on a daily basis the pro se litigants that come in, people that need help. And we're obviously, and I know you're all trying to get lawyers to represent people as much as we can. The Supreme Court is very interested and concerned about this. They've made it a high priority. And the past year, I think it's been about a year and a half, this new Coalition for Court Access, you may have heard the name and kind of maybe been aware of what they do generally, but Chief Justice Rush created it about a year and a half ago. Justice David from the Supreme Court is chairing it, so it's at the high level of attention from the court's perspective. And basically it's charged with increasing and improving civil legal services in the state. And in the past, we've had kind of a silo situation where we have pro bono delivery, we've had legal aid, we've had pro se. So this is an effort to kind of put those all together under one roof and really focus on the problem from all perspectives, not just one particular delivery method. So that's what's happening, and I'm happy to say that there's been some financial resources put into it by the court and others, and there's some things that have now been worked on for about a year and a half that hopefully will be bearing fruit fairly soon. So for example, one of the things And I know, you know, there's all kinds of different levels of legal services that people need. And you see it all, you've heard it all, I'm sure, in your practice and when you're volunteering. Some might just need information, some might need full representation, some might need something in between. And one of the things that we have had a difficult time with is where's the front door to this system? You have your front door, obviously, and I'm sure, Shane, you have no problem people finding you and then getting plugged into the system. But for those that can't physically come into that front door, how do they do it? One of the things the Supreme Court and this Coalition for Court Access is trying to do is make a virtual front door online. So it'll be the point place for people to go to who need legal services. They can go there, they can sort of enter the system that way. But also for lawyers who are interested in doing volunteer work through Pro Bono. And I know, obviously, working with your local group here is the way to go as well. One of the things we're hoping to be able to do is, from rural Indiana, it's a challenge. There's few attorneys and a lot of need and a lot of distance, and transportation's an issue, all of those things. Again, I'm talking to people that know all too well. So one of the things that we're hoping to do is leverage technology. We have Indiana Legal Answers online, which is basically, if you're interested, and anybody can do it, you don't have to be from any particular place in the state, but you can volunteer as an attorney online, you can take a case, it's a limited scope representation, it's all virtual online, so basically it's thinking of it kind of as a listserv or an online presence, where people are screened for eligibility, income eligibility, they post a question, and volunteer attorneys from around the state answer those questions on a limited basis. So it could be giving them some advice, where to find a form, those kind of things. But it's not necessarily full representation, but at least it gets some people some help that they need, point them in that direction. There's always going to be a need for full representation. And again, that's where I think you all have really done yeoman's work and working through Shane and everything locally. That's continuing to be important. But our hope is to be able to leverage some of the attorneys that are in more populated parts of the state with folks from around the state that don't have those resources available to them. So that's one of the things that is being worked on. Another discussion is this whole discussion of forms and pro se. How do you deal with pro se? I know the court and for the judges in the room, we hear from the Supreme Court and appellate courts often because they hear from you about the challenge of pro se. How do you, and if you're an attorney on one side and you have a pro se litigant on the other, it's extremely challenging. How do you get them the level of service that they need, the justice that their case requires, without crossing other ethical lines as a judge or as an advocate for another party? So one of the things that we're trying to look at, and the court is looking at, is this idea of pro se forms. I don't know, judges in the room, if you have, it seems like Google can be a dangerous thing when you Google something and you take a Colorado form in court or whatever it may be, and trying to get something done. And so one of the things the Supreme Court has indicated they're looking and trying to do, and we're trying to help with that, is get forms that are useful, standardized, available, and volunteer attorneys can potentially help people with forms or unbundling, have a limited engagement to help them with a particular aspect of their matter. So the forms is something the court's looking at a lot too. And so we're gonna need help, and we're gonna try to get advice. One of the things we're looking at doing through the courts is some of the senior judges that have volunteered or participated in the senior judges program, involving them in this process, because they see and have seen, again, on the front lines what those needs are, what forms might be appropriate, and frankly, which ones are not. So we really want to get some practical input on that and the ability to help people who can do some limited things on their own, but as we know, not everything is suitable for pro se folks to be able to do on their own. So that's another area. Another thing too, I'll talk about funding, because ultimately funding is an important aspect of this. You guys do a lot with a little. If you had a little bit more, I'm sure you could do a lot more. So that's one of the things we're trying to do through IOLTA funds. But the other part of this is our good friends in the General Assembly. The pro bono filing fee was very successful in getting that sunset renewed or extended, because they saw the demand was still there. Our hope is the next budget session, which won't be until 2019, that we can talk with those folks about possibly increasing the civil legal aid fund, which I think, if I'm not mistaken, you're receiving a portion of funding from that. It hasn't increased for quite a while, and I think the demand is certainly there, and the rationale is there. In the meantime, one of the things that we're hoping to do through the Bar Foundation and the courts and the court access and the sort of the community that's forming around it statewide is to be able to present an economic case for it. And so we're going to be, over the course of the next year, putting together an economic impact analysis. People that know a lot more about that than I do, and people that study these things, economists, et cetera, from Indiana University and other places, to show what a dollar spent in this area really returns. And from other colleagues around the country who've been able to demonstrate this, it's a pretty compelling case, especially when you factor in the volunteer work and the various other things that are able to leverage through the volunteer attorneys. An hour of your time, if it's free or if it's at a reduced rate or something along those lines, can generate additional, be magnified by multiple factors in tax dollars saved in a variety of cases. So that's one of the things we're going to be looking at trying to do and make the case to say, this is worth the investment. It's worth the investment because it's the right thing to do. People need the help, and that's clearly demonstrable. In addition, it's a good bang for buck from an economic standpoint too. Tax dollars can be benefited and benefit the people that need them in this way. The attorneys are doing their part. Attorneys continue to do their part, and we would like to be able to support the work that you do. And financially, obviously, I know is a continuing effort. And I had a story recently. One of the other benefits that we have at the Bar Foundation, we hear a lot from attorneys who do this work. It's challenging, and I know you're already busy with other paying clients and everything else, but a lot of the attorneys that we hear from are very, sort of honored to be in this position to be able to give back and support their community. And just one example, and I'm sure you have many examples of people that you've helped and how it's impacted their lives, but one of the ones that struck me was an attorney in Evansville, and they had represented an elderly woman who had fallen and was, really having some hard times physically and somewhat mentally. But all she had as a family member was a niece. So the niece had power of attorney and was basically her sole caregiver. And so she went into the hospital. The elderly woman did, and I think the niece didn't think she was going to be coming out. But she did. She was rehabilitated. She got the care she needed. She came out. Fortunately, when she came out, her niece had emptied her checking account, had sold off all the property she could of the elderly woman's, and I'm not sure which is worse. She sold her burial plot, and this is the other one that could be equally as bad, depending on your perspective, put her pet to sleep, who was her sole companion. So if this woman came out with basically destitute, and it was a volunteer attorney that was able to collect and gather some of her resources back, really get her back literally on her feet, and intervene when she had nobody else to turn to. That's obviously an extreme example, but there are things that you do, I know, in quietly, probably, to help people that need help in your community. And that's one of the things I'm really honored and proud to be affiliated and associated with so many attorneys who do so much good work for people and are there when people need them the most. And I think that's one of the things I really appreciate in certainly my job. I'm fortunate to be able to hear and see attorneys that do that every day. And not just attorneys, paralegals, volunteers, so many other people. But again, we're focused on attorneys in this particular case because there are certain things that attorneys are fortunate to be able to do by virtue of their license. And so I'm honored to be here, to be in this community, such a close-knit community. Everybody knows everybody. And again, to me, that's the epitome of a community. And it's the ability to take care of your fellow citizens in the way that lawyers are blessed and fortunate to be able to do. And so thank you for all your work. Just know, from the Bar Foundation standpoint, we'll try to do the best we can to get you the resources you need on the front line to make things happen. And that's our mission in this. We're like the supply train trying to feed the frontline troops, of which you are. and we'll keep doing our best to try to make that happen. And I know you'll keep doing what you do with and stretching the resources that you do have so far. And so anyway, thank you so much. I'm honored to be here, honored to be with you today, and just help celebrate all of the work you put in this year. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chuck, so much. And the EMR Foundation has been a great friend and supporter of Whitewater Valley Pro Bono, including, for instance, through the mortgage foreclosure grant that we have had the last several years, as that problem still needs attention. So thank you for being with us, for celebrating with us, and for what you do personally and through the foundation. Every year we like to also pause and recognize stewardship and support for the commission and the services it provided. And everyone in the room here, by being here, you are supporting, and many of you support with your time, talent, and your treasure. And we're really privileged to honor this year someone who, from the outset, from the origins of this organization, has always supported every event that we do, quietly. Paul and Pat Lingle have obviously left their mark on this community at Wernley, at Reed, at organizations large and small throughout the community, and that they have chosen to share and support this organization is critically important because it directly impacts our ability to serve. And it also shows the character and quality of Paul and Pat, that they have continued to work hard in this community, develop jobs, be a resource for so many organizations that every time you support us, Paul, it really does allow us to continue forward, and shows that we have the backing as we're looking for grants and support from other foundations that you have chosen to support us as well. So please join me in thanking Paul and Pat Lingle for being our Community Supporter of the Year. Thank you. If you could come up, Paul.
Bob Maley started this organization. I knew it was something that Pat and I wanted to be part of. And John and all of you have continued that. It's really the deep roaring that all of you do that makes it easy for Pat and I to be financial supporters. So thank you for representing the community, representing those that need representation, and keep it going. We like it. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you for letting me know a few of your for sale yards out there when I was a teenager. All right. Next, introduce Shane Eddington, our executive director, who everyone knows both from this role and some of your theater performances as well, no doubt, Shane. So Shane has one of the most challenging jobs because he has to practice law, serving essentially through a legal aid clinic, serving those in the community with sometimes simple needs, but oftentimes very, very challenging type that Chuck described. He also has to just be there to listen, which is oftentimes what people need, simply to get pointed in the right direction. He is our executive director, our development director, and keeps things going. And he's learned about putting together golf outings and road races and other such events that he didn't know before. So Shane, if you could please come up and tell us a little bit about what's going on in terms of the services that are being provided, and introduce your colleague as well. Thank you.
Thank you so very much for being here. As you know, we get literally hundreds of applications a year. Not everything needs to be litigated, but everyone needs some type of help. So we do what we can for everyone who comes in. And I put the number on the program of about 3,500 people, with the thought that everyone who comes in has other relationships. There's other family relationships, other friend relationships, and everyone's connected. And so by helping these people come in who fill out the actual application, we're also helping extended families, their social network, and the community. As you might imagine, just from reading the newspapers, we have been hit pretty hard with the heroin epidemic here. A lot of what we do is because of the heroin epidemic, either directly or indirectly. A lot of what we do is family law. So we're helping children get to the proper parent. Or we're helping a guardian establish guardianship over a child whose parents are dealing with health issues. We're also fighting the landlords once in a while. And with Chuck's help, we're also helping with the mortgage foreclosures. So that's also quite nice, being able to help people keep their homes. Looking at what we do, when you guys make a donation, it helps us keep the lights on and helps us provide just one-on-one services. That's what we do. Like John was saying, we really have no overhead. So people come in and they get help directly from us. Some cases I can place with certain attorneys. Don and AJ always take the family law cases. I can place mortgage foreclosure cases with Ron. So each member of the bar, I try to kind of match their needs with the needs of the client. And so it's nice to be able to do that. So thank you so very much for your support. And now I'll introduce our actual winner of this year's Pro Bono Attorney of the Year Award. This person I have both worked with in court, somewhat against in court, but always willing to take a case, always seems to have a case on their desk, which is always much appreciated. A member of the State Bar Association, the American Bar Association, a graduate of Valpo with a degree in Spanish and history, and South Dakota for law school. So thank you very much, Abby, so very much for all that you do here.
Thank you, Abby, for your service and for all the bar who step up, both through the Whitewater Valley Pro Bono Commission and then the pro bono that happens every day in every lawyer's office in this community that's unspoken and quiet. I remember growing up on Main Street every now and then, someone would drop off some corn or some fruit or vegetables, and I didn't quite understand why people kept bringing Bob and Charlotte Maley this nice food. I learned later that because of pro bono service, and that was their way of saying thank you and being proud and dignified. And some closing remarks. So we've had a good, yes? Oh, you got it?
Get to your closing. No, this is something special.
Oh.
That either goes on your wall or it goes back down to Shane.
Oh, the grand opening of the Robert Valley Pro Bono Foundation. What day was that? That was November 17, 2005. Well, thank you, Mom. Well, I think we should get that back down at Shane's office to celebrate. No, seriously. So, yeah.
He's been doing that. He's taking parties down a very.
Oh, sure, yeah.
I don't know if he has wall space left.
I think we'll find some.
We can find room. We can find room.
Thank you.
Shane, I want you to come and accept this, please.
Refill, please. This makes me like
This is not the program.
Maybe they're lost.
Oh, thank you. Thanks, Mom.
Yeah, we'll find
All
room.
right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mom. So we've had a good year. We've kept our head above water financially, serving hundreds and hundreds. We're blessed once again this year as we close out the year. We just had the Wayne County Foundation matching program that we were part of, and thank you again to the Wayne County Foundation for their support. Ray Unco and his company Oxpop are once again, as you've seen in the program, undertaking a December year-end annual campaign matching program for us. And Brad, I'd like you to step up for a moment and just describe that. And thank you for what you continue to do. And you should know, and the judges know this, what Ray's company does here out of Richmond, Indiana, supports the entire Indiana state court system, as well as many, many, many other court systems. Ray, thank you.
Thank you. Oxpop is delighted to be able to support the work of the Pro Bono Foundation. As John mentioned, this year we'll be contributing $7,500 from the Docs Pop Charitable Giving Fund, and that's on a matching basis. So if the money isn't raised in the next 16 days, you may not be able to achieve that full benefit for the Pro Bono Commission. So I appreciate all that you do, both with your time and with your treasure to support the Pro Bono. I was delighted to see Chuck Dunlap here today. He and I met several months ago when we were petitioning the legislature to extend the pro bono fee, and Docs Pop, as part of, the work that we do, get to see so many cases go by, and it's just really a privilege to be able to support all of you in serving these special needs within our own community. So we're delighted to have this opportunity, and thank you for it.
Thank you. It just so happens Don Hawk, our treasurer, we had our board meeting right before, noted that we have a $15,000 gap to make a budget this year. So thank you. Ray, we will do our best to make a budget and allow you and your firm to match. And so every gift helps. You know, a $10 gift becomes 20, a $25 gift becomes 50, all the way down the line. So what I'll ask all of you to do is a number 5. 5 people. Reach out in the next week or two to 5 people. Send an email, send a text, whether it's on Facebook, however you do it, a neighbor, a friend, a colleague, a co-employee, and say, hey, here's this organization. There's this matching campaign going on. And if in this room, if all of us did that, that's 200 new people we're reaching. If we have a 10% rate on that or a 40% rate, whatever it is, those become long-time continual donors because they learn about what's happening here. Lastly, I want to close. Andy, thank you for being with us, as always. Just had a birthday this year, now 95. Former city attorney that everyone knows. Andy, thanks for being with us. Merry Christmas. The dessert table is here. Enjoy. Thanks for being here.